Welcome, everyone. It is 6 p.m. I'd like to welcome you all to the City Council meeting for the City of Clearlake. Tonight is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. It is 6 p.m., and I would like to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Slotin.
Here.
Councilmember Overton. Here. Councilmember Kramer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Claffey.
Here.
And Mayor Purdock.
Here. Councilmember Kramer, are you leading the pledge? I'd like to offer an invocation. You're welcome to join if you would like. Father in heaven, we are so grateful for those who come out and serve in our communities that are servant leaders. We'd like to remember Senator Dianne Feinstein, who passed away recently and who is laid to rest today. We'd like to remember her great accomplishments and the service that she provided, not just to the city and the state, but also federally. Father, we ask that you would bless this meeting, that you would allow us to have wisdom, courtesy, and grace as we deal with the issues facing this council tonight. We'd also like a blessing for those who are in attendance, that they may find peace here and that they are able to travel home safely to their families. We ask for these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Mr. Flora, on item D, any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda for today.
I'll second.
Turn your mics on. Kirk.
Sorry, I move that we approve the agenda for today.
Again, I will second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Slotin, a second by Councilmember Kramer. All those in favor signify by saying aye and vote electronically. And nay if you oppose.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. Moving on to item 1 under section E, presentations. Chief Hobbs.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight we'll be swearing in new police officer Sang Yang. Come on up, please. First, I'm going to give it first.
It's on.
I'm coming out the speakers.
No. Green light's on.
Yes. All right. First, a little introduction on Officer Sang. Actually, before I go into that, just want to talk a little bit about the importance here tonight. We're getting one more position closer to being full. With Officer Sang coming on board a couple months ago, we have 2 officer positions open right now, so we're getting close to being full, and it's really good for us. We've been trying to get there for a while, and we're getting a lot closer. So we're happy to have him on board, and we're glad he chose to come to our department. He graduated the police academy in July, correct? Or June? End of June of this year. And so we're glad that he's here. Let's give a little brief bio on him. Officer Yang was born in Bon Vinai refugee camp in Thailand in December of 1991. Officer Sang and his family immigrated to the United States in 1993 and settled in Fresno, California. Officer Sang was born into a family of 19 children. 9 from his maternal mother, and 10 from his stepmother, all of whom share the same father. Officer Yang and his wife recently had their first child, and in his spare time, he enjoys bass fishing, playing the violin, and spending all the time he can with his family. All right, if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, saying, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duty
upon which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
Do you have anyone you'd like to come up to pin your badge on?
Yeah, my wife.
There you go. Mr. Mayor, would it be all right if we took a several-minute recess to take some photos?
It would be my pleasure, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll recess for 5 minutes.
This is what I was going to show you. Hence, didn't see the name. You know, it's, in one hand, it's good that they're doing it, but, you know, I guess it's, there's a new sheriff in town, and they're not gonna get away with it anymore.
Yes. I was going to try to keep all the cops here, but that didn't work out.
Look at them all right.
That's quite the family. I don't know how it's time to
Well,
do
19
anything.
kids.
How it's time to do anything. Too many aunts and uncles.
Yeah, I did. I haven't really looked through it because I got busy with this water stuff.
After you left, I said, I needed to say, I believe that's a pretty long and the voicemail.
Yeah.
Right across the street.
I need to learn to do this since everything, if I did, he was very engaged now. before it was, somebody wanted to donate their time and they had said it was okay, it was okay, but now it's like, do you need anything on that bill?
Frank's
I'm
big.
like, I got that from the county because they give us the money, and I said, oh, I'm gonna do this, and that's, they're like, well, you have this. I was like, oh, that's right, they changed that law, so.
Oh, that's good. It's all good.
Where did you get this?
It was sent to me by, I got a copy of it. Oh, John Bonneau from LAFCO gave me a copy of
And what's LAFCO doing?
it. Huh? Well, we were talking
I
about,
hope we can turn up the heat a little bit.
talking about the annexation of Fort Knox.
All right, more.
More. Okay, that's it, no more.
Anyway, that's really.
Congratulations, officer, and welcome aboard.
Yeah.
All right, we will reconvene at this time. Move on to item 2 and 3, presentations.
That's okay.
I may be taking these out of order. Do I have any representatives from Lake Family Resource here
Which
tonight?
is really good.
Please, come on up.
Especially when you have a family and you
Yeah.
do something, so.
Hi, welcome. Why don't you come right over here? They don't need to see us. They know. Right over here. That way we're kind of on TV. You didn't know you were going to be famous tonight, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're going to be seriously famous. All right. The month of October is often and currently recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is something that has been plaguing our country for centuries, if not longer, definitely decades. And until roughly about the early 1980s, it really wasn't addressed. I think in law enforcement, we would call it a 415 family, and there wasn't a lot of teeth in the laws that were applicable then. But shortly after that, our legislature created 273.5 of the Penal Code, which gave law enforcement some specific directions. And I think that's really had an impact on domestic violence, at least in the state of California. So with that, I'd like to read this proclamation. Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October 2023. Whereas domestic violence impacts women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And whereas emotional and physical scars resulting from domestic violence are often severe and long-lasting. And whereas in the past 12 months, Lake County law enforcement responded to over 570 incidents of domestic violence. It's including men, women, and children. In the past 12 months, the Victim Witness Division of the District Attorney's Office has served 406 victims of domestic violence, and the District Attorney's Office has prosecuted 397 of those cases as felonies and misdemeanors as acts of domestic violence. The Lake Family Resource Center responded to 989 crisis line calls, served victims, and additionally sheltered 147 domestic violence victims and their children for a total of 5,200 bed nights. Whereas it is crucially important to hold perpetrators responsible for assault and to prevent domestic violence at every opportunity. Whereas family violence is a community problem. Stopping the cycle requires not only the strength and courage of survivors, but also the support and involvement of all members of the community. And whereas many organizations such as the Lake County District Attorney's Office, Lake County Sheriff's Office, Lakeport Police Department, and Clearlake Police Department, as well as the Lake County Family Resource Center, are committed to ending domestic violence in Lake County and provide essential crisis intervention and prevention services to all members of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the month of October 2023 is designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the city of Clearlake, and our community is urged to support the efforts of the agencies assisting victims of domestic violence and to increase their involvement in efforts to prevent domestic violence, thereby strengthening our community and creating an environment which honors, nurtures, and protects all members of every family. Dated this 5th day of October, 2023, and presented to you by the City of Clearlake Council.
My name is Camille. I am the Domestic Violence Program Specialist at Lake Family Resource Center. And along with the other services with the shelter, we offer help with the restraining orders, as they say, but we also do court accompaniment. So what you would do is you call our office, fill out some paperwork, and we would come with you and attend with you. We can't speak on your behalf because we're not attorneys, but we can give you that support if it's needed. Give us a call and we'll do that court accompaniment. And then we also do domestic violence counseling for individuals that have had past domestic violence in their childhood and have not healed. We also have therapy sessions as well that we could refer you to see a therapist as well. And with our shelter, we also like, even though it's also for men, women, and children, we also have our shelter, it's to the LGBTQ community as well. We want them to be invited to know that the doors are open for them. I'd like to specifically address the male community, please. I know that you guys are out there and we're here for you. And part of the stigma is that domestic violence doesn't include men, and it does. If you find that you're being financially abused, where they're taking all your money away, if you find that you're being controlled with your time, you have to be accounted for because your abuser wants to know where you're at. If you find examples that I'm giving is if for not only just the time, but they're doing tracking. That's also another abusive trait, along with hitting you, putting you down, calling you names, being in control of your friends. If you're finding that that is going on and you want to call our shelter, please give us a call at 1-888-485-7733. It is a 24/7 phone call. Monday through Friday, you'll get any advocate at any time. Please give us a call. We're there for you. Our shelter is for 90 days, and we also offer a Housing First program where we will help the individual look for a place. They'll have a safe place, a place to live, a safe place where they can begin their healing, and we can offer your beginning of an enriched life. Your first step to you males out there is to reach out. I know it's hard, but the first hardest step is to call. Reach us, give us a call, and we'll be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I'd also like to add that if you hear something, say something. If you're in a neighborhood and you hear someone yelling or calling for help, regardless of age, gender, suspicions or anything else, that's what 911 is for. If you can't remember, it's easy to find. And also stay in the line with the police dispatch or the sheriff's office dispatch, because they're going to need to know as they're sending their units to offer help what's happening, and they like to have that live information as it's coming in. So if you hear something, see something, report it, and stay in the line and help us get there to help somebody and be that intervention. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget your purse. All right, the next one is I'd like to present, and I'd like to call some friends up. Linda, could you and your friends please come up and join me? And Kevin, would you mind coming up too? Yeah, I know, you weren't expecting this. But since you're a representative of local health care, you're in this with us. October is also a month that we want to recognize and share information about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There are some real heroes standing up here that not only had to fight for their life through this horrible disease, but now they're also supporting and providing protection and counseling and so many support services for those who have been diagnosed and are now struggling with that. And I'm going to give you a chance to speak to that after I read the proclamation. So with that, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 2023. Whereas, while considerable progress has been made in the fight against breast cancer, it still remains the most commonly diagnosed cancer and the second leading cause of death among women in the United States. The first is heart disease. And whereas each year it is estimated that more than 220,000 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and more than 40,000 will die as a result of the disease. And whereas October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, an annual campaign to increase awareness about this disease. Whereas during this month, we reaffirm our commitment to support breast cancer research and to educate all citizens about the risk factors, detection, and treatment. And whereas we display pink ribbons and wear pink clothing to raise awareness, we also support those courageously fighting breast cancer and honor the lives lost to the disease. And whereas this October we recognize breast cancer survivors, those battling disease, their families, their friends, who are a tireless resource of love and encouragement. And we applaud the efforts of our medical professionals and researchers working to find a cure for this deadly disease. And whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an opportunity to unite all citizens in our community to prevent breast cancer deaths through increased education and regular screening. Now, therefore, the Clearlake City Council does hereby proclaim October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, presented to you this day by the Clearlake City Council. Now I'd like to introduce my friend Linda Shields, who is a survivor and a champion of mine.
7 years now. I've spent, can I hold it? I'm sweating. I'm very nervous. So these ladies that are with me today are just a small portion of the women in this community that have fought, are fighting, or unfortunately may cross that bridge. All of us have lost people we've known. I've had the opportunity to help a few local members who did not survive this disease. The three of us here feel very blessed for being survivors as well as being able to help others. And a side note, because we're still trying to increase the awareness on this side of the lake, 25 years ago, a beautiful young lady named Julie Kelly began an organization called Sponsoring Survivorship. She started this nonprofit when her mother was diagnosed with the disease. Now her mother, to this day, is still living, thank goodness, and the organization has grown and grown. Now, they cannot survive without all of our donations and other community help that we can provide them. But every year on October 7th, or I shouldn't say October 7th, the first weekend, the first Saturday of every October, we have a fundraising walk, 1K, 5K, 10K. You can join. It's a blast. There's snacks, there's goodies, there's support, there's a lot of fun to be had, and then we honor those who have survived and those who have lost this battle with this horrendous disease. We work diligently to try to get as much awareness as we can out there so local women can come get financial support, get emotional support, get information about other resources, and of course with that awareness, we need more money. I'm not here begging for money, but I'm just saying from the awareness piece, if anybody needs a tax deduction, I got a great place to put it because a lot of women, it is alarming. It's a 1 in 8 number. I feel like as I am exposed more and more to this world that I happen to be in and the number of women I cross who have experienced it, either themselves, a mother, a sister, an aunt, daughters, It's just, I think it's more than 1 in 8. And unfortunately, I think it's growing, although there is amazing support and amazing treatment for the disease itself and for the identification of the various types. 30 years ago, it was breast cancer. Now they're getting a handle on the triggers, the different aspects of it, and how to treat those and target the individual with specific therapy to try to keep the disease at bay forever so that person can live a long life.
I would like to say on the 1 in 8, it may be even much more than that. Her and I have known each other for many years, and there's her mother, her, and me. So that's 3 people in just this community who are connected in some form. And it goes way beyond just the 3 of us. Her mother unfortunately didn't survive, but this woman here is battling her 2nd time around. So it's tough topic for us. So it's out there. We need all the donations, not just to Sponsoring Survivorship, which is an amazing organization, and they help the community members of Lake County, but for all research, for all cancers, not just breast cancer, because it is a deadly disease, and it's a very hard battle.
Let me just say one more thing really quick, okay? I'm just shaking like a leaf, but I do want to say, this is my motto, is don't just depend, your wives, your family, your friends, don't just depend on mammograms. And I'm going to be very frank. Know the landscape. I think you all know what I mean by that. Know your landscape. If you don't pay attention as a woman, make sure your partner is. Okay, because I will tell you my situation. I should have found my breast cancer and I did not because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Although I had an annual mammogram, like clockwork, I also had a gynecological exam annually. So in November of 2015, I had my mammogram. I got my love letter that said, hey, you're good. 5 months later, I was at my gynecology appointment. I was stage 3C. I am lucky I am here. And that is 5 months after mammogram that sent me a letter telling me I was healthy. So it's really important to not depend on either, but to use both. They're tools.
Don't go anywhere. I'd also like to invite my friends at the dais. I believe 1 or 2 of them have something they'd like to say on this topic.
I'll just go first. A couple of months ago, I felt this little thing in my breast. I've kind of ignored it for a while until it hit again. So I decided to kind of push it a little bit, and I asked for a mammogram, and I did. And by the way, getting your boob squeezed is...
Right?
No, it's not fun.
This is a
Fortunately,
PG show.
Are you healthy?
yeah, they did an ultrasound and did some other testing, and fortunately, it's good. But my point is, men can be affected by this.
Very much so. And in fact, that I know of in Sponsoring Survivorship, we have had 2 Lake County men as clients that needed assistance financially and otherwise. I think it's 1 in, I want to say like 1 in 21 men.
I don't know
out
the
there, and
statistic.
1 in 8 women.
Right. And Kevin, I didn't mean, I caught you off guard, but I want to recognize the other medical providers here in Lake County with Sutter and Adventist Health Clearlake, but you're here as the, luckily, as a manager of Lake County Tribal Health here in the city of Clearlake. So is there anything you'd like to say about what the clinic offers and things that you're doing as far as imaging and helping fight this disease?
Well, like these ladies were saying, it is so important to get your mammograms and your other screenings too, the cervical, all the other types. So I just really encourage everyone to work with your healthcare provider because, again, I know we always reach out to, hey, it's time for your exam, but if you don't come in, we can't do anything. So please partner with your healthcare provider and let's save lives together.
Great job. Thank you all very much for coming. Please do what you can to help your family members. Let's survive this. Let's beat this thing. Thank you very much. All right, thank you all very much. Appreciate your attention through that. I thought those are a couple of pretty big deals. Moving on to item F, public comment. Public comment. This is a time for any member of the public or community to address the city council on any matter not on tonight's agenda. But because of the Brown Act, please remember that with very limited exceptions, we cannot answer your questions. We cannot respond to direct requests for response. And we cannot take any action on any item that may be brought to our attention. So with that, I have a couple of requests. The first one in is from Ms. Kay Lopez. She would like to talk to us about Clearlake animal control.
Okay, I hope this is working.
It is.
Okay, I'm Kay Lopez. I had some downtime, so I was able to look over the investigation of the Clearlake Animal Shelter by Lieutenant Peterson. I was interview C5. In reading this response of our recorded interviews, I see the results of my interview was inaccurate and, in my opinion, biased. That is not what I relayed to him. Examples, quote, his outcome. Like all kennels, dogs will defecate and urinate on the floor. It's to be expected. That's not what I said. I said the dogs were standing in poop and urine melded together with no way of getting out of it, which is in violation of the Health and Safety Code 122382A4 enclosure standards. Another example, his outcome, it's expected food would still be in the bowls from the morning feed. No. Those pans are supposed to be pulled after 20 minutes in keeping with laws stating animals shall be provided food free from contamination. Another example, his outcome. Dogs in the play yard when it was lightly raining. Well, that's not what I said. I said it was storming heavy, no way of getting them out of the rain. Again, against enclosure standards. His results, you said California Animal Welfare Association has no animal control officer certified in Lake, Mendocino, Sonoma, or Napa counties. That's not true. Lake County Animal Control has 4, and one officer who was used to work in Clearlake is also certified. So that's 5 in Lake County. Training is important. You stated dogs were overcrowded in the maintenance building due to a hoarding case. Dogs were overcrowded in the kennels also, and yet instead of relieving the overcrowding in the shelter, North Bay Animal Service goes to Stockton and brings, 50 more dogs back to Petaluma? I don't understand that. In spite of being ordered to remove the dogs from the maintenance building, which you ordered, they're still there 6 months later. The city solution was to ban the public from viewing the dogs in their kennels. Well, first of all, that makes it harder to understand that dog's nature before adopting, but also it's not allowing the public to view what's really going on. It was clear this shelter was in violation of city, state, county, and federal laws. We came to you in good faith that you would correct this behavior, but instead you made light of it, downplaying what we came to you with and exposing those who you, Mr. Peterson, swore confidentiality. This investigation should have been done by an outside source not affiliated with either side. These results were not only an injustice to those of us who came forward, but also to the animals that suffered, and that is shameful. It is also shameful that the very people who made light of our eyewitness accounts are also the ones chosen to do the walkthroughs. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lopez. Next, I have a request for public comment by Ms. Patty Duke. You have quite a bit of information you want to share, and I will let you do that rather than read it.
I do. This is something I made really big so you can see property.
If you could just introduce yourself, Ms. Duke, and that you live in Clear
My name
Lake.
is Patty Duke, and I live at 4950 Spruce Avenue. and I'm an RN, and I work for Home Health Care Incorporated and IHSS. I help people stay in their homes and get as healthy as they can. All right, I submitted a code paper, and that was submitted on, oh golly, received July 19th. You remember the snows and all the trees down and all the, brush, and everybody had damage. Okay. Well, I have property that I cannot access at the bottom of my property. And then there's the gully, and then there is the Veterans Administration building, the Mexican restaurant, the hotel, and so there's all of this brush, and it belongs to 4990. It is not on my property, okay? And so I wrote a thing, it's very explicit, right on the top line, 4990 and 4900. I can file another one, but all of this is now dry, okay? This is a gully, and on this, this was closed. Nobody ever told me. I came in the first part of the week and I was disgusted because nothing had been done. We're gonna have a horrible winter. I mean, the squirrels are telling that with the big piles of shavings they're doing. We're gonna have a very bad winter. So I wanted to clear my property, but I can't get there because of all of this stuff down here. Okay, so who got cited? Who had to clean their already clean place? The guy that owns 4940. And all I see as pictures is 4930, which is his lot, okay? His lot over here. There's a picture of that, and there's a picture of his lot, his house and stuff. Well, I watch his property. I watch the people when they don't live there. I watch their property. There was nothing wrong with his property, but he was cited. And so he had his people come out again. Oh, let's really make it, take a few rocks off of the driveway. So there's no before picture there. And I believe this is partisan, people that know people. And I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. Take care of your citizens. So it's 4990. I'm gonna make it again, okay? And I included a map. I included my survey, so there would be no question. And this is my survey. And there is a fence post, and then way at the end of 4960, there's the end of the fence there. If I have to take a string and put it all along there, you can see that what has dropped is from 4990, and it's on their side. So nothing has moved, okay? This happened also in 2008 when there was a ramshackle shed and a ramshackle asphalt wall that was out on my private drive. And
So
it
if
was
you-
closed, and it was
If you wouldn't
closed.
mind, if you could share that, you don't need to share your big drawing, that's very good, by the way.
Well, I just wanted to let you
Hold
know.
on. If you could just share that paper with the chief of police, he's got two very bright lieutenants sitting in this room, and I'm sure that he'll give that to one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's people that know people, and I've been harassed and property damage.
But thank you for coming tonight and sharing that with us, and come back if you need to.
And thank you for the police, and thank you for your guys and girls. I mean, they're out there, and we don't have drive-bys.
Time's up, and I got a couple more to go.
I know, but I
Thank you,
want
Ms.
to thank
Duke.
our police.
You bet. All right, Mr. Andrew Kuykendall would like to speak to us about the building department. Yep, that's what it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you could just introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, my name's Andrew Kuykendall. I'm a homeowner and own properties in Clearlake on 11th Street. So this home and a lot of homes are in an older community, and most of these properties that are still around are built in the 1940s. Upon purchasing these properties, I had to deal with squatters, inadequate living conditions. After getting rid of the nuisance, the squatters have moved on to other tax delinquent and abandoned properties in the area. So recently, I applied for a permit for an electrical upgrade and to reconnect service with PG&E, and I was denied the permit. The reason the building department denied my permit is they are deeming it an unpermitted structure and are insisting to comply with the 2019 Clear Lake City codes and labeling it as a new structure. So they want me to do this before a permit can be issued. There is an existing structure with water and septic on it. The property I have is a 1940. I also own the property next door, which is 1945. The home across the street are 1944, and the houses to the sides on both sides are 1942. Most of the homes in the area are deeded single-family residence, from that era. Are my neighbors going to have to deal with the same problems if they need to apply for a permit to make improvements to their properties? Other contractors have told me they've had similar problems pulling permits. Both properties are zoned from the 1924 Clearlake Woods property tentative map. Earlier this week, after being denied the building department, I walked into the building department over there by the college, and they referred me to the planning commissioner of Clearlake. So I then contacted the planning commissioner, and they have advised me in order for me to submit any type of appeal process, it needs to go through the building department. So now we're going in circles. So after contacting the planning commissioner and telling me, in order for them to go through it, the appeal needs to come from the building department. The planning commissioner also invited me to come here and share this to the mayor and the city of Clearlake. So now after emailing back and forth with the building department, they've also denied me an appeal. Property rights are the foundation of liberty. The right to own, enjoy, and put property to productive use is a source of personal security, dignity, and prosperity. This is a violation of my Fifth Amendment right of the United States Constitution. The building department is denying my freedom to use my property. The government telling me that I need to add more square footage and a 2-car garage is ownership and unconstitutional. PG&E has been out to the property to set up a service plan. My PG&E planning manager has informed me that in order to bring PG&E to the property, they need to do better improvements for the area, which is good. So we have a homeless problem in this community and a squatter problem in the Clearlake Park community. I'm trying to improve the Clearlake Park community, and the city of Clearlake does not want that to happen. I'm in contact with some law firms, and I'll be moving forward with litigation. Thank you.
I'm going to hand this, your request to make public comment to our city manager, and I'm sure that he'll have someone give you a call.
Oh, yeah, he's the attorney.
Definitely familiar with the issue on this one.
There you go.
Since there's a threat of litigation, I won't be providing any additional comment, though.
Thank you. That's all the written requests I have for public comment, but if there's someone here in the room that would like to address the council at this time, please step forward and introduce yourself. I was waiting. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm Margaret Garcia. I'm a homeowner here in Clearlake. And I just wanted to share an experience. I had this afternoon, I had to get on the city bus. So easy to get, easy to catch. I've only taken them twice, but they're great. Well, when I hopped on, there were these folks there, and they were talking back and forth and discussing Clearlake, the city of Clearlake. And just, really down, kind of not giving it some hard knocks, right? And so I said, hey, I like to think that the city of Clearlake is more on an upswing. Everyone's trying, council's trying to, get city of Clearlake looking good. I think it's a positive direction, I said, you guys should talk it up instead of talking it down so much, right? So in thinking about all this, I thought back to the money that came in for the monument, or for there was like 5 or 6 spots in the city of Clearlake where this money was supposed to be allocated to make the city, improve the look of the city. I don't know what was in mind, a turnaround deal. But I am curious as to where that money ended up. I know it was reallocated at one point. But what about those improvements? I think it would be a really good thing to see. Whatever the plan was, maybe that can be started, one of them or something, just to go in that right direction of improving attitude, improving the facade, and just improving the city. I'm thrilled with living here. I've been here ages as far as my family, but I think it would be a good, positive thing. So that's all.
Thank you very
please.
much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? If not, I'll close this item. Oh, that's a great, thank you for reminding me. Ms. Swanson, is there anyone online who would like to make public comment?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. In that case, we will move on from public comment to item G, our consent agenda. Mr. Flora, any changes to that?
Yes, I would request that the council pull item number 9 for separate consideration.
Thank you very much. Pulling item number 9. Any changes by any council members? Seeing none, I'll offer it to you for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with the pulling of item number 9.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kramer and a second by Vice Mayor Claffey. All those in favor signify by saying aye or nay.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Flora, you want to bring item 9?
Sure. So this item is related to the renovation project at the senior center. We've been through a number of iterations of this, but this is formally approving the contract. Nothing really new to add there, but after posting the agenda, we discovered that one of the most important items of the remodel project, the freezer, walk-in freezer and refrigerator, was not included in this bid price. And so we have the funds available to cover that. So my ask is just that if the council is inclined to approve this contract, you would approve an additional $55,440 for a total contract amount of $649,320 instead of what's listed in the staff report.
Mr. Kramer.
Just a question, and that 55,000 you say we already have available from?
Yeah, we have funding available to cover the additional costs, yes.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll open it up for public comment. Anyone want to talk about the renovations to the senior center? Seeing any on the Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom.
In the Zoom room. All right, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, again, I'd like to make a motion to approve the award of contract for the senior center as amended by City Manager Flora with the addition of $55,440 for the additional items, freezer and.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kramer, a second by Councilmember Overton. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, it's not on there. We're going to have to do a voice, and because of the amount.
It is now.
Is it there now?
Because of the way the program goes, if you pull an item off consent, I'll need a voice vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If you could do a roll call due to the amount.
Sure. Councilmember Slotin.
Aye.
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kramer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Claffey.
Aye.
Mayor Purdock.
Aye. Motion passes by unanimous consent. Moving on to item H of the public hearing. I'd like to open the public hearing, and we will hear the public hearing for CDBG Grant 17-CDBG-12019 and for the code enforcement action, Mr. Flora.
I am going to turn the presentation over to Lieutenant Peterson.
Lieutenant Peterson, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and the public. So The Community Development Block Grant Program partners with rural cities and counties to improve the lives of their low and moderate income residents through the creation and expansion of community economic development opportunities in support of livable communities. CDBG grant allowed for staffing the Code Enforcement Bureau through CDBG grant and program income funding. This includes 3 code enforcement officers and 1 code enforcement technician. The City of Clear Lake funds 1 code enforcement officer through general funds. The project for the grant employs the code enforcement staff and works in partnership with the Lake County Fire Protection District to identify fire dangers enforced through weed abatement. The code enforcement officers are dedicated to specific areas within the city. The code enforcement officer technician conducts administrative work for the Bureau. The project goals is to gain compliance through enforcement of local ordinances and regulations regarding health and housing codes, land use and zoning ordinances, sign standards, and uniform building and fire codes. This includes a focus on activities related to vegetation abatement activities. The areas served were determined by block group boundaries as indicated in the application's service area. With this, the city was broken down into 3 areas. Enforcement activities conducted by the grant-funded code enforcement officers are highlighted in areas 1 and 2. Each area has a designated code enforcement officer specifically tasked with enforcement in each area. The 3rd grant-funded code enforcement officer was a floating officer conducting support enforcement in these areas. Enforcement conducted in Area 3 is conducted by the code enforcement officer funded by general funds. The funding from the grant supported payroll, vehicle maintenance supplies, postage, fuel, phones, travel, legal expenses, software, vehicle leases, and general administration for the 3 code enforcement officers and code enforcement technician. Excuse me for a moment.
Oh, sorry, folks. Here, I'm going to pick up where Ryan left off. So, the fiscal impact for the community was an additional $500,000, with $34,884 going towards general administration and $465,000 towards code enforcement activities, including what is described in the prior slide. In addition to the CBDG grant, program income funds were also used to support the program and augment the efforts of the code enforcement team. Code enforcement cases created in Zone 1 were 1,195 and Zone 2 were 513, totaling 1,708 cases. Code enforcement cases created in Zone 3 totaled 704. The addition of the 3 code enforcement officers funded by the CDBG grant allowed for approximately 142% increase in case activity, which would have not been accomplished by a single code enforcement officer funded by the general fund. Is that slide 10? Is that slide 10? Can you see it on your screen? Okay. All right, so on slide number 10 here is administrative citation statistics. A total of 2,513 administrative citations were issued, and 848 parking and vehicle-related citations were issued. Code enforcement activities are more than just enforcement and issuing citations. They also work to clean up the properties and the areas of illegal dumping. An example of this is a large dumping site with vagrants located near our community college. This area was cleaned up in collaboration with CC4C, and vegetation abatement was conducted in collaboration with the Lake County Fire Protection District. And these are some of the photos from the scene. Many vehicles, dilapidated RVs, and motorhomes were abandoned in our city. These vehicles cause blight within the community and are attractive nuisance to children, putting them in the neighborhood at risk. Throughout enforcement efforts of the code enforcement officers, these vehicles are removed prior to additional vandalism and waste exposure to the environment from toxic fuel spills. Through vegetation enforcement, the Code Enforcement Bureau reduces fire risk to the community from dry vegetation fuel and also makes the area a cleaner Clearlake. All right, in closing, the CDBG grant has made the Code Enforcement Bureau more robust and integral to making Clearlake a cleaner, safer community. I'd be willing to answer any questions to the best of my ability if you need me to.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions for Lieutenant?
I do.
Mr. Slotin?
So does that mean you're going to lose 2 code enforcement people after this grant is completed?
We evaluate every year through the process. We are still hopeful that our program will continue through the next grant cycle. We are currently in another CBDG grant cycle.
This is the second cycle, I believe?
This is, I believe.
Or the third?
Third.
Yeah,
We're
so
starting the third.
this is a required public hearing for the closeout of the grant funding we received in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Lori or Beth may be on Zoom that can address that, but yeah, we've applied for additional funds through another CDBG program. That's what's funding the officers in our operations currently, but we continue to have to apply for grant funds to sustain the operations.
So we're working into the future. I mean, there's not going to be a gap here while we're waiting for a
We're
grant.
gonna, yeah, we're gonna do everything we can to make sure there's not a gap, yes.
Because it's been very effective, so.
Yes, that.
Can we get a grant for 10 more?
See, sir, we'll take whatever you can get us.
Well, so, and we should probably let Lori or Beth talk, but the limit for this type of funding has been 500,000, which is what we apply for. Otherwise, we could, but it's just, we're
There's a
spending,
cap.
that we can't, but they are changing the program. It's going to be a little different, like the 3 areas that you saw there. That is not going to be a restriction into the future.
Okay.
But anyway, I think maybe we turn it over to Lori or Beth, whoever's on Zoom, and they can.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, Lori's here, Adams Ashby Group. We are working with Ryan and Mr. Flora in identifying the next cycle of funding, and CDBG has made some significant changes that reduces the available funding for the program in this next cycle. So we are working towards identifying how to bridge that reduction. You have been very successful in the program. The 17 also incorporated program income, which increased the amount of funds that was available to the community during this grant term. The current cycle of funding is through your CDBG DR funding, and that is what is currently in place. And then in January of 2024, the city will have an opportunity to apply for an additional $250,000. And then again, in January 2025, an additional $250,000 will be available once again. So we are trying to maneuver through this to figure out how to bridge this gap, because we do have a shortfall of funding compared to what you had available to you in the past. But there are some opportunities to help us with that, and we are researching those and working together as a team to try to figure that out. So tonight, we're just about, we are here to give the demographics, the results, and the outcomes of the 2017 grant, which is now closed out and all the funds have been expended, and let you know how those funds were expended, the impact that they had on your community, and then to direct staff to submit the final documents to the state to finalize that contract.
Thank you very much for that information. Just for the record, if you could just introduce yourself, please, and what agency you're with.
Oh, absolutely. Lori Adams. I'm with Adams Ashby Group. I am one of the team members that works with the community in their grant programs and administration and implementation.
So are you a grant writer?
Yeah, that is one of my duties, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you so much for your help on this.
You bet.
Any other questions of staff or anyone on Zoom? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wanting to address the council on this particular item, please step forward. Fine. Anybody on the Zoom? that would like to make a comment?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom.
Please step forward. You have to reintroduce yourself.
I do.
Yep.
Do that, okay.
It's the rules.
Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake resident. I'm just curious what are administrative citations that you were totaling up, what those are?
Those are tickets for violations and code enforcement.
So administrative, just in other words, I'm just trying to distinguish one from the other, so any explanation?
Well, if you could just, because I'm sure somebody else might have that question, Lieutenant, maybe share the difference between an administrative cite and a traffic cite.
An administrative cite is a citation handled through the city municipal system, where a criminal cite is handled through the Lake County District Attorney's Office.
Okay,
Any further
thank you.
clarification?
Thank you. Anyone else having a question on this item, please step forward. I'll check one more time for those in the Zoom room.
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. At this time, I'd like a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Of closing the public hearing and bring it back to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to submit the required closeout documents for the CDBG contract. That has as much problem as you do, Lieutenant. Contract 17-CDBG-12019.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Kramer and a second by Councilmember Overton. All those in favor signify by saying aye and vote electronically. Madam Clerk, got a couple more coming in.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Lieutenant. And I hope Lieutenant Peterson's okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Moving on to business and item 12, authorization of additional expenditures under the existing professional services contract with Downey Brandon Legal Services from $250,000 to $500,000. Mr. Flora, would you like to give additional information on this?
Sure, I can give a brief overview, Mr. Mayor, council members. So earlier this year, we executed a contract with Downey Brand to provide legal services for defense of the city in a CEQA lawsuit filed by the Khoi Nation against the city for a project. And then in March, the council authorized up to $250,000 to be spent in defense of the projects. There was an additional lawsuit filed later in March against the Khoi Nation as well for a different project. And actually, that's not true. It was a little bit later. I think it was in June or July. But nonetheless, the lawsuits are moving forward, but we are in need of additional funds to defend the city against these actions by the Khoi Nation. So at this point, we're recommending a total of $500,000 be authorized. I know it's frustrating. These are project funds that were identified to be, used for sidewalks, playground equipment, batting cages, etc. Either those, a number of those items will have to be pulled out of the projects when we're authorized to move forward, or else additional funding identified. But I think it's essential that we defend ourselves against these frivolous efforts, and the future of Clear Lake depends on it.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Any initial questions of staff on this item? Councilmember Overton.
So I just want to make it clear that we're going to have to pull money from the project of things that we had planned to do.
Of the Children's Park and
So
Sports
that's no
Complex.
longer even a project anymore, because we're going to have to change that money over to this. So we're going to
Well, I mean, yeah, so I mean, you
miss
look
out
at the
on-
sports complex, I mean, we've spent I don't know, 3.5 million out on that property thus far. We have about another 9 million in the budget for this year. And so, some of those are grant funds. We're not using that for legal expenses. We have other city funds. And so, those are the funds that we're using to defend against these lawsuits. So it will require some decisions in moving forward that will reduce what amenities are available to the community, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Any other questions? I'd like to open it up to the public for your comments. If you'd like to make one on this item, please step forward. Please come up and reintroduce yourself.
Margaret Garcia, city resident. It's a darn shame what you're saying. It really is. And I just want to say that CEQA, this is a drop in the bucket. It's 250 additional. I mean, CEQA will eat you up and continue. They can just draw this on and on and on. So I wish you luck on this. And it's really unfortunate that this is going on and involving, money supposed to go elsewhere. So good luck in that.
Thank you. Just for clarification, CEQA is a law that we are in compliance with. Very good. Any other comments from any member here in the chamber? Madam Clerk, anyone in the Zoom room with a hand up?
There are no hands raised in the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bring it back to council for more deliberation. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I think the public comment was pretty apt. When we were elected, some of the biggest problems were roads and parks. And we, as a small city, cobbled together enough money to start making some significant improvements. This is a lot of money going to a purpose that really isn't needed. There's also money being spent on the other end that could also be invested in this community that is not right now. We have to do this. It's on the back of the taxpayers. And I really hate to see it, but it is what it is.
But we have to defend it.
Councilmember Kramer.
We have to defend it now, or it's going to continue to haunt us into the years to come as we try to continue to do projects within the city to improve it for our citizens and our community. So we have no choice but to continue.
Councilmember Slotin.
I concur with the two previous comments by Vice Mayor Claffey and Councilman Kramer. We need to do this. It's unfortunately that certain parts of the project are not being able to fulfill, but like Mr. Kramer said, we have to do this. Otherwise, they'll continue with these frivolous lawsuits.
Thank you. Councilmember Overton, any concluding remarks?
Well, I definitely concur with all of the council members' remarks. I am extremely saddened that, part of this project that are for our children is having to take away for a lot, for us to defend ourselves. It's sad. Anything that's taken away from our children breaks my heart. So, but I understand it's necessary. And like we said, we have followed all the CEQA laws. It's not CEQA that is stopping us from going forward. But I mean, I don't see any choices that we have. So I'm just saddened that we're going to be taken away from our children. So it's a sad situation, but we do have to move forward. I agree.
Thank you all for your comments. In conclusion, I would just like to say that I echo the comments of my peers. And I was very disappointed in our public hearings on this, on these items. I concur this is a frivolous item or issue, that we should be spending our money more on the community and not on legal representation for a frivolous lawsuit. We had complied with all of the CEQA laws and CEQA requirements. We had tribal monitors in place as required under the law. It was the extra that we were being asked to fund, that we said no. We had been in compliance, and the work needed to get started, and having, had we done that, again, we would have to take away from the project with some of the things that were designed into the project to pay people for unnecessary services, as I see them.
Just add one comment of it. The tribal chairman agreed for a solution, and then they backtracked. Remember that.
Yes, the vice chair, or whatever he calls himself.
Yeah, thank you all. With that, we made our comments. I hope that provided the public with a little additional information, because this item is still under litigation. There's limited information we can share, and I ask for an action by council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize an additional $250,000 in expenditures under the Downey brand contract for a new total of $500,000.
I'll second.
Yeah, we'll all second that.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Claffey and a second by Councilmember Slutin. All those in favor signify by saying aye and electronic vote, or nay if you disagree.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. Moving on to item 13, approval of agreement to purchase and sale between city and Jerry Lambert and Alexis Silliman for the sale of city-owned property 15903 36th Avenue in the city of Clearlake, 95422, APN number 041-144-010. Mr. Flora.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, I'll be brief on this, but just wanted to highlight this one. Normally, we would just put something like this on consent, but this is a participant in our homestead program. Unfortunately, with the interest rate hike, there's been a reduction in the number of participants in that program. I think we had about a dozen or 15 initial applicants, and a number of them have not moved forward with the process. But I think this is the second or third one that is moving forward, so just wanted to highlight it for the council. It hasn't quite went like we expected because of interest rates and just how that impacts people being able to borrow money to build. But here's an example of one that's moving forward, and we're excited to transfer this property to these new homeowners.
Thank you very much. Any questions of staff initially? Very good. I'd like to open this up to public comment. Anyone wanting to address the council on this item, please step forward. Seeing none, can we check the Zoom room for any hands?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. I'll bring it back to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement of purchase and sale of city-owned property at 15903 36th Avenue, Clearlake, California 95422, APN 041-144-010-000, and authorize the city manager to execute any related documents.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kramer and a second by Councilmember Slotin. All those in favor, feel free to signify by saying aye and by electronic vote. Any dissenting?
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Very good. All right. On a side note, I went by the property. That's a nice property. So I hope they live there for a long time. Moving on to item 14, discussion and possible action related to a proposed request for a rate increase by Golden State Water Company. Mr. Flora.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, so I'll give a brief overview. So it was requested we add this to the agenda. You'll recall 3 years ago, we had a similar discussion when Golden State Water Company requested a rate increase through the California Public Utilities Commission. So a little bit of overview. We essentially have 3 water districts providing water service in the city. Canocti County Water District, Highlands Mutual Water Company, and Golden State Water Company. So Golden State's a privately owned company that serves around 2,100 customers in Clearlake, and it's regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. So generally speaking, the process is when there's a request for a rate increase, generally done on 3-year cycles, they file an application to the Public Utilities Commission. This information is released. There's an opportunity for public comment, and it kind of moves through the process. So I'll scroll down here. So the request, it's kind of a twofold request. I'm sure you've reviewed the materials, but initially, or the sort of the first option is, I guess, a rate, not really a district consolidation, at least as I understand it, but a rate consolidation with a district in Sacramento area, Arden, Cordova. If that was approved by the commission, there would largely not be a rate increase. There's some other fire-related fees, and I don't really understand what the impact would be related to that would be increased. But if the commission denies that request, then there would be a total of 40.72% increase over the next 3 years, or starting in 2025. And 22.6% in 2025, 8.9% in 2026, and 9.17% in 2027. So I guess, just bringing this to the council, see if there's anything you want to do. Last time, we did submit a public comment letter to the Public Utilities Commission. In being part of some discussions with the PUC, there's an additional option if the council wants to consider, which is to actually become a party to the proceeding. It would require, there's, I think, a couple ways to do it, but filing a motion. So the council could give direction for us to do either of those things. Try to address any questions you have. Our local district manager is here. I'm sure he wants to provide some comment to the council, and then we also have a representative from the Public Utilities Commission that's on Zoom that is willing to try to answer any questions you have about process or how this rolls out.
Yeah, I know this is a rather big item, so I hope the council will allow me the latitude of inviting our district manager for Golden State Water to come up and address the council with any issues he would like to bring forth that may answer questions that they have before they ask them. So, Mr. Ahart, if you wouldn't mind coming up, sharing what you have, and then we can hear from the public commissioner.
Good evening. I'm Keith Ahart, Operations Superintendent for Golden State Water Company here in Clearlake. Thank you for the opportunity to address any concerns that you may have. Mr. Flora actually hit on a lot of the key points. I would think that the position of the city, if you're opposed to rate increases, would be to issue a letter of support for the consolidated rate structure versus opposing our rates. Put something in a positive light. One thing that wasn't hit there was that if our rates are, if we're consolidated as a rate-making area with our Rancho or Arden Cordova facility or customer service area, the rates here in Clearlake would freeze for the foreseeable future. That's not to say that 40% increase, the infrastructure improvements that were planned that influenced that amount would still be made, but the rates here in Clearlake wouldn't be affected. We would still make that investment, but the rates here would not be affected. So from that perspective, it's incredibly important. And I think we're all advocates for the citizens of Clearlake, so I would think it would be extremely important for the city of Clearlake to support that rate consolidation effort. Obviously, I mean, if we have, the PUCs on the line, they can answer some of the questions to that as far as what kind of impact that would have. But Yeah, I mean, I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding the process, you know, what the rates are, what's included in the rates, et cetera.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'd like to hear from the member from the PUC at this time, and then we can ask questions.
Should I stay or sit down?
I'd sit down. Madam Clerk, could you introduce the witness from the PUC?
We have Antoinette Seguenza. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and, oh, hang on, let me join this.
What happened?
I got a note to join as a panelist so that I could turn on my video. Hello. Thank you for having me here. My name is Antoinette Seguenza, and I'm the local government affairs from California Public Utilities Commission, and I'm the local government liaison for Lake County. Just to introduce the CPUC, we empower California through access to safe, clean, and affordable utility services and infrastructure. And we regulate investor-owned utility industries, which include electric, natural gas, communication, water companies, as well as railroad safety, rail transit, passenger transportation carriers, transportation network companies, and autonomous vehicle passenger services. So my role here is to be present in communities, to serve as a contact, first point of contact, for the subject matter experts at the CPUC, also to ensure that your voice is heard at the commission, and making sure that your concerns and issues are addressed. And so I would be able to answer process-related questions or questions regarding the decision either to make public comments or become a party to a proceeding. But as far as going into the details about the rates and the impacts, I would need to connect you with a subject matter expert from our water division about something like that. But thank you so much for having me here.
No, thank you, ma'am, for being here. If you haven't done so already, if you could just drop your contact information and spelling of your name in the chat for the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, and before I open it up for public comment, are there any questions from council for these three individuals? Councilmember Kramer.
Yes, Mr. Ahart. I have to call you Mr. Ahart here. What's the downside to you made the case for consolidating with Arden Cordova?
There is no downside. It's an extremely positive action that we're trying to take on our side. We understand. So we're a standalone rate-making area. We have 2,000 connections. We're trying to improve our system constantly. I mean, we're doing great, but we still have miles and miles of pipe that need to be replaced. We have old services that need to be replaced. As you know, all the paving is great. Love the paving, but there's a cost to us whenever we have the large paving projects, to the tune of $150,000, $200,000 every time.
You have to replace it edge to edge.
Right. That. So, I'm not getting into replacing the pavement. That's a subject for another time. But the thing is that we have 2,000 customers. We're trying to invest in the infrastructure. So the cost per customer here is much larger than it is in other areas. In Rancho Cordova, we have, I think it's between 25 and 30,000 connections. So if we merge
16,000.
Huh?
16,000.
Well, Arden, Cordova, and Robbins are all one rate-making area.
I'm just going by what.
Okay.
Whatever.
Not here to debate our connections.
Right.
It's a much larger service area and has a much larger rate base. So obviously, the more customers you have to spread the cost over, the less impact there is for others. So for here in Clear Lake, it's nothing but good. We can continue to invest, and the rates will stay at today's levels for the foreseeable future. I would encourage, so all of our
So
customers.
can you explain the process, that, why this body would be able to make that simple request?
Well, first of all.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
go ahead.
First of all, the city of Clear Lake is one of our customers, so they have a voice. This document that I have here was sent out to all of our customers, explains the process, explains what we're asking for, et cetera. It also has contact information on the back at the PUC. Obviously, the California Public Utilities Commission is the decision-making regulator on what passes and what doesn't. The support from the city of Clear Lake obviously would be a big help in getting this to pass. But that same information, that same vote from all of our customers, I would encourage anybody who can hear me, anybody who got this letter, to read it, understand it, ask questions of me, anybody, or ask the PUC what we're asking for. That consolidated rate is the best thing that could happen here in Clear Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Ahart.
Yes.
Councilmember Slowden.
I looked at, I got a copy of a letter by the Public Advocate's Office. Are you aware of that? That they are proposing to deny your request? It says right here, evidentiary hearings may be required and a schedule should be established that allows for diligent review of issues identified by this protest. So within this CUP, they're already saying, nah, not so fast. The other problem that I have, and you're well aware of this one, that Golden State Water, about a little bit less than half your fire hydrants don't have enough fire flow. And then you have, if you look at the reinvestment for the customers within this district, is the lowest in all your districts for Golden State Water. And coincidentally, Arden Cordova is the second lowest. So that same argument was made in this things that although Golden State forecasts an additional $273 million, most of those projects were previously approved rate increases. So not this one. That also included. So you have not fulfilled your promise that you would improve this particular district. So my recommendation is that we become a party to the opposition of it.
I'm not here to debate back and forth with you regarding this.
No, we appreciate that.
I came here to present, the information, provide information related to our rates. We've had this conversation before, and I don't want to have it anymore. Honestly, because a lot of the facts that you continue to present are flawed. And I'm not going to stand here and defend against flawed information.
This is information that I received from your district.
Okay, yeah, but.
And if you have updated information, please.
The last time you brought this up regarding our fire hydrants, you brought me a 20-year-old list. We doubled that list.
Let's have some decorum and not.
Can you then provide that with updated information? And you have not been able to do that.
You haven't asked for it.
I have.
Okay, you just asked for it.
Okay, sorry. So, and as far as the investment here in Clear Lake, it is among the lowest, and the reason why is because we have 2,000 customers, and we can't afford, our customers can't afford our rates as they are. We don't want to continue to dump, we have to do some things, but we can't continue to overburden our customers. That's why we suggested, that's why we applied for the rate consolidation. It seemed to me like a no-brainer, but apparently there are some issues or some flaws that you found in that idea.
Okay.
I'm happy to address them with you.
Well, as far as my information is that Clear Lake has the lowest investment per share or per service in all of the district of Golden State.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilmember Kramer?
I can just re-ask this again. So you're saying that with this consolidation in rates with Arden, Cordova, that investment in Clear Lake's infrastructure, Golden State's infrastructure in Clear Lake, is going to, you believe it is going to increase, that things that need to get done that haven't?
It's going to continue at
Because,
least
because
at the
our
pace-
rates are low, will, in fact, now be able to be done because we're being looked at in combination with Arden, Cordova?
Correct. Improvements, we'll still have to go through the same process where we go to the PUC, tell them what we want and the financial impact of that. However, it will not affect the rates here. So the investment in Clear Lake will continue.
Well, continue or increase?
I can't speak to that until we're approaching, this is the rate cycle right now. This is what we're doing right now. We will look at our needs and propose those needs as the rate cycles occur. I can't tell you what we will or won't do in 6 years or 9 years, whether we're going to ramp it up. I can't speak to that right now. If you would like, I can gather that information and provide you with an answer. If you're asking if our capital improvement program will increase or stay at the level it's at, I can't tell you that. I can look.
What would happen if the rates were allowed to increase this 40% over the 3-year period? Would that investment then be done, or does it make any difference?
So, again, this is the problem with misinformation, because every project that we have asked for to complete in Clear Lake is either in process or complete. So I don't know where that came from. So what I'm saying is everything that we propose will be done.
I mean to try to insult you, but are you asking for everything that needs to be done, or just asking for enough that you feel comfortable that it will be approved?
Yeah. It's so if we ask for everything that needs to be done, there is absolutely no way that our ratepayers could afford that all at one time.
So do you have a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan of capital improvements?
We have proposed projects. We have a list of them, and we put them in as the priorities dictate as we enter rate cycles.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember Overton.
I just have one question, and you may or may not be able to answer it. But as Councilmember Slutin said, one of the biggest problems here that we all are very passionate about trying to get fixed is our water, so that our fire departments, have access to the connections that are correct. Have yours been updated, or is that in your plan to update any of them that haven't been? Because I think that's one of the most critical things for us also, is to make sure that our citizens are protected, and I'm sure that you would like to do that. So is that in a plan? Has it been started? Can you give me any ideas on what has been and what you plan on doing,
Okay.
forward?
So, based on the last time that this issue was brought to me by Mr. Slutin, the list that he had us with 98 hydrants, and 40% of them or 60% of them, you said, did not meet fire flow, okay? That was a 20-year-old list at that time, which was 2 or 3 years ago, okay? Since that time, we have almost doubled the amount. We have 172 hydrants, 176 hydrants now versus the 98. As far as flows, we don't regularly go out and fire flow them. However, when there has been requests for fire flows based on developments that have gone in recently around here, we can meet fire flow and exceed fire flow. So if your question is whether or not our system is being improved for that purpose, absolutely, it is on a regular basis. Every time we do a pipeline project, we add hydrants, more hydrants, even if there's already hydrants on it.
But the ones that existed are not set to be updated, is that, because I'm trying to figure out what the, my question is there need for the updates? And if there is needs for updates on the existing ones that are older, which I think there is, I've heard, you know, some, is that in the plans? Do you have any, like Mr. Kramer asked, 1 year, 3 years on plans on updating any of those systems that may need to be updated in the areas that already existed?
Yeah, I think the question, the fire hydrants that we have are all, we have a hydrant maintenance program, valve maintenance everything that we have is functioning at its fullest. There are some areas where we need to replace water mains. And that would be, I think, more to address what you're asking. So yes, we do have pipeline replacement projects that are slated out a number of years, and areas where we know we need to improve replace those water mains. And with those water mains come new fire hydrants as well.
So
I'm kind of, if I could just bring a point, trying to keep a point of order here. I'm going on this because it's kind of maintenance issues.
Well, I'm trying to get the thing, because now my question is to joining the forces.
Okay.
So if we join forces, and is this something that is, if this went through and these need to be done, is this something that's going to increase the, both areas of their bills every month? Will that be something that you take and get approved to, and then increase the rates? Or is our rates, you were saying our rates are gonna stay the same if we join this other group, but if you do these type of improvements, will that raise the rates, or will our rates not be raised?
So our investment in this community will be at least what it is now, likely more, without affecting our rates here in Clearlake.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sorry, I kind of got off the thing, but it was because I was trying to get.
That's okay. It's just we're trying to pinpoint what the question is. Any other questions, Vice Mayor?
So you mentioned to Councilmember Kramer that all the improvements that need to be done can't be done because we're already at a rate ceiling. I'm just curious, if we didn't have that limitation, everything that needed to be done could get done. What does that investment look like?
To be honest, I would not feel comfortable throwing out a number to that right now.
Okay.
It'd probably scare us.
Huh?
It would probably scare us.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are replacement schedules for water mains, meters, services, et cetera, as well as the infrastructure of our plant. It was built in 1992, and there are things that we need to replace there on a regular basis. So it's kind of one of those things that, yeah, I mean, we're getting into millions of dollars to just go out and replace everything that is coming up on needing replacement. It would be astronomical.
Right.
So that's why, answering Mr. Kramer's question about, how will it ramp up, what will ramp up as far as our investment here, some of that is dictated by, okay, what have we seen as failing or starting to fail? We need to get out ahead of that. And then that becomes something that we ask for in our rate case. The important thing is that with the consolidation, that will not affect the rates here any longer. And again, regardless of opinions related to our investment in this community, it seems to me that freezing the rates at their current status is a plus, no matter what you think of Golden State Water Company.
Is there I imagine there's an industry standard in rating the quality of a water system. How does ours compare as it stands now? How are the water systems that we could be potentially consolidated with?
Can you, so there's,
So I guess my question is, you said our water plant is built in 1992.
Yeah.
Is there an industry standard when it comes to grading the infrastructure of a water system?
yeah, I mean, well, yes and no. So,
Well, then give me a ballpark. How, in terms of the current infrastructure we have now, are we low tier, mid tier, high? It sounds like we're not high tier. But where would you rate our water network?
I'd say mid. We're proactive in capital improvements, but that's not to say that we don't have capital improvements that still remain.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. And the water districts that we'd consolidate with, what are their condition right now? Because I would imagine, yes, there's a rate freeze for us. That means for them, they're taking on a heavier burden, right?
Right.
If they're a low-quality water district, that is going to come around and bite us in the butt down the road. And if they're a high-quality water district, the opposite. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, they're in real good condition. There's a lot of new development there, and as I'm sure all are aware, with water purveyors, generally speaking, a developer funds the initial capital with a buyback later on. So there's a lot of development there, so a lot of their infrastructure's new. And so, yeah, they're in pretty good condition.
Any other questions?
Just, when did Golden State take over, I think it was called Clearlake Park Water District? Do you know when it was done?
1972, I believe.
1972?
It was a while ago. Is there any questions from the public? Anyone wanting to ask a question on this item? In the Zoom room, Madam Clerk, do we have any questions?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I have a couple questions. Oh, Mr. Flora.
Oh, yeah, if it's okay, I have a couple question for Mr. Ahart. I'm juggling around between a few documents, so I'll use approximate numbers. But so there's $649,000 of investment that's requested for the Clearlake service area. If the rate districts are consolidated, that $649,000 would basically be covered by the ratepayers in Art and Cordova, with the exception of it says that, they'll be frozen, and I'm reading from the notice here, but Golden State Water Company is proposing an increase to the general schedule AA for private fire service from $6.50 to $8 per inch of diameter of service connection. I really have no idea what that means. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so if somebody requests a private fire service, so it's a large diameter fire service to, say, a commercial building or whatever, they were charging $6.50 per inch of diameter for that service, but that's going to increase to $8.
I understand that part. Can you put it in some practical context so we can understand what that might mean to a business owner?
To be honest with you, I've never had a private fire service installed in my district. I'm not very familiar with them. I don't want to go off on a weird road that doesn't make sense or isn't true. So why don't I gather that information and gather that scenario, and I can come back another time or communicate directly with you if that's what you would like, however you want to approach it.
That would be great. I mean, you're saying that hasn't really been an issue in this district, but for some reason that increase is being requested by Golden State Water. So I think it would be helpful, for us to understand what that means.
Thank you for that. So I've got a couple of questions myself, Mr. Ahart. Been a long time water user of yours, and I've noticed over the years we've had drought, and when we had water shortages and we were asked to cut back on water, there were penalties if we overused. It seemed like those were put in place, but never seemed to be reduced when we had ample water. Is there any plan to bring us back to kind of a static now that we are out of the drought? I'll just leave that question for you to answer. Is there any adjustments that we can see?
So the rates were never actually affected. It was if there was an excessive, here at Clearlake, if it was an excessive amount, we were directed to address that as a water waste issue with the.
So there was an increase in the usage charges? Is that what you're saying? To the individual user. So if a user said, I don't care that you're putting restrictions on me, I don't want to see my landscaping die, so I'm going to water no matter what in this drought.
Right, then that would.
They would pay a penalty for overuse? Okay.
So does that just come into effect in the event of a drought and some measurement of the lake level down at a certain time of the year?
It's directly related to orders, executive orders from the state.
So all water companies are given that direction by state?
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't come from Golden State, it comes from the state of California.
Well, kinda. So we have to come up with.
Come from this lady's office?
No.
Okay.
No, it comes from, well, no, it doesn't come from the PUC. It comes from the governor. When he signs an executive order regarding water conservation, we're then supposed to enact a conservation plan that has to be approved and filed. That has to be filed with the PUC.
So that executive order would expire when the water conditions come back.
Okay. And then my next question has to do with our paving projects, and we publicize those. Our Public Works Director is in the room, and people should know or have at least the ability to look up when those paving projects. I'm hoping that Golden State is monitoring that as well. I'm also wondering if in your improvement, your capital improvement projects, is that something of public record that people could see where you're making these investments, or is that just within the purview of the Golden State Water?
It's certainly, there's no like publication that we put out that says, we did this or anything like that. I mean, it's certainly something that we could consider. I could, run that up. We have a communication company that works for us.
No, thank you, Mr. Ahart. And then my last is, it's not really anything that I know you can answer. It's just something that within our strategic plan for the city, one of our key items is to make this city a more beautiful and appealing place to live. And one of my frustrations with all the water companies within the city is it seems that our rates have gone up so much over the last 5 to 10 years that we can't really have landscaping, and we can't really, we're trying to do some, more hardened landscape and that type of thing, but some of us can't even afford, to water those plants. I didn't hear anything in your proposal, or if we were to join, that there'd be any rate reduction. I'm looking for, we live in a very poor community, or economically challenged. The nation's economy, of course, is also impacting that, but is there any relief for our residents in the future by your company? I know you can't answer for the others.
Yeah, I can't, honestly, I can't speak to whether or not there could be a reduction, sorry. However, it is definitely something that I can broach the subject and have conversations and see if it's something that can be done.
Or maybe, do you have any, maybe another way to rephrase this, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but is there any information you could share with the community regarding hardening their landscape and making it more water resistant or more water efficient? So again, we can try to beautify our city.
It's funny, I mean, I can get some publications.
Just a thought on your website or something like that?
Yeah, and I believe there is.
Okay.
On our website, under conservation, there's a number of resources.
I didn't
there.
check, so thank you for that.
There's a number of resources there, and honestly, that was one of the things that we gave away every single year at this
I know you
4th
did,
of July
Yep.
thing, was a gardening thing for drought-resistant landscape.
Okay, I got my questions, and Vice Mayor.
Just wanted to follow up on one of the mayor's questions. In your long history, long career, have you ever reduced water rates? Have you ever seen that happen?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't expect that answer, but
Not gonna happen.
gotta ask. Councilmember Kramer. You had your pen up?
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Slowden.
I'm somewhat bothered by a couple of things. One is that even the CUP and their advocacy group states that that Golden State has not performed with capital improvement project based on rate increases of the past. That's my real big concern. We can argue about fire flow and all that stuff. That's a thing, but that bothers me, because if I see the statistics on what you have spent in Clearlake compared to other districts, that is a big concern of mine, and I'm really bothered by it.
Is that a statement or a question?
That's a statement.
There you go. Councilmember Overton, any final thoughts?
I mean, right now, today, and I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, but I think right now we're just looking at whether we want to join to try to keep our
Right.
rates basically the same, possible for the near future, or whether we want to just basically stand on our own and take the consequences of our rates are going to go up. Is that kind of my understanding here?
There's a third option, I believe, that our
Well, yeah, I
city
mean,
manager
I
suggested.
suppose, I mean, you can direct us to provide some specific comment to the PUC regarding the rate increase. It could be, as Mr. Ahart recommended, that we like the consolidation. It could be that, we don't like either of the options, or we're concerned about the level of investment, or, any of the concerns have been raised. You can direct us to provide that comment to the commission. The other option is, I guess, becoming a party to the proceeding. And, I don't know all the benefits to that. I guess is having a more active role in the proceeding as it moves forward. I mean, this is a fairly long process before it's actually approved. I mean, the PUC is, the current schedule is recommending that I think sometime in December of next year is when they would anticipate, approving or taking some action on this. The Public Advocate's Office is, in the letter that they submitted, recommended that timeline be stretched out a little bit longer. But anyway, so
I need to ask
you. Or the third option, I guess, is just to do nothing.
Get you in just a second. I just need to ask a clarifying question. You mentioned there's 3 options. Could you briefly just summarize what each option would be?
Direct us to provide some type of public comment on behalf of the city to the Public Utilities Commission.
In support of what Mr. Ahart says?
It could be any support, not support. I'm just
Okay.
putting that as one option, some public comment.
Okay.
Direct us to take actions to become a party to the proceeding, or do nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just clarify there? So it sounds like there's 2 moments in time here. One where they talk about the consolidated district, and if that is rejected, then it goes to the rate conversation. Do those all happen at once? Is there an opportunity to oppose and support one element and not the other?
I don't know if our PUC representative can speak to that or not, but my understanding is it's going to happen somewhere in a black hole in Sacramento and be done. But
Behind closed doors where nobody knows what's going on.
Mr. Ahart, do you have a comment to that question?
So yeah, in this rate cycle, the decision to either raise the rates or consolidate rates happens at one time. That's one decision. It's one or the other.
Is that time anytime soon, or is this something that we can get this additional information we're asking Mr. Atard for and come back? What's the timeline?
For our comments is.
What's the comments for, or timeline for comments?
Yeah.
There is, I think, that timeline is quite short.
Quite short. Is it November something?
I'm not sure if there's a timeline that we have on joining the proceeding.
Thank you.
I believe that's, the Public Advocate's Office is in March of next year. I looked at it.
So we do have some time to get
I don't know,
more
is that
information.
correct? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I mean, I would just say that, from a layperson's perspective, this process is not designed to gather and, it may be presented that way. It's not designed to gather and act upon
Right.
public comment. You see the same thing that happens with PG&E and all that type of stuff. It's very methodical process that generally results in what is requested. But
Is there any comments for our representative from the California Public Utilities Commission?
Yes, right now we're quite early in the GRC process, and yes, it is a long, lengthy process in order to gather all the information from a wide range of stakeholders. And we are not yet at the point where there will be a scoping memo, which right now we're at the proposal. That's where you saw Public Advocate's Office submit their recommendation for a timeline. But coming up, there will be a scoping memo, and I'll be able to provide you with the, they're not often exact dates, but they're time periods of what every step of the rest of this GRC will be, but it's not out at the current time. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my password.
I
Previous
think we
question.
should table this until we get
I
more
was just gonna,
information.
I was gonna ask.
Go ahead, Madam.
So we're not in a hurry to do this, is that correct? We don't have to make a decision tonight, is that correct?
I don't think so. I don't claim to, I don't know for sure if the PUC is going to close the window on comment. To my knowledge, we don't have to make a decision tonight.
Because I'd like to look more at the benefits for both areas, for me personally, of what the benefits are gonna be for both of us if we were to join together, and then if we don't, so plus I think,
Well, that part we can answer relatively easily. You're not joining the districts together.
Right.
It's just, if this is approved, the ratepayers in Arden Cordova will be paying approximately $650,000 to fund improvements in the city of Clearlake, in the Golden State Water District boundary.
Wouldn't they get upset?
Well, if it was the other way around, we'd probably be upset about it, but that's the way it's laid out as far as I can tell.
So I'm still, Keith, I'm trying to understand something. Why pick Arden Cordova? Why not Apple Valley or Los Osos or what's?
Because of so we're considered Region 1.
Okay.
Okay, then there's Region 2 and Region 3. Those regions have consolidated rates already amongst those systems. This is a system that is in our geographic area that is capable of, let's say, subsidizing Clearlake.
so I don't see then why we wouldn't do it, so.
Yeah,
They're big
I don't know
enough.
why they would subsidize this.
Well, it's up to Golden State Water to make that decision and have it approved by California Public Utilities Commission, as I understand it.
Right, all I'm advocating for here is support.
No, I appreciate that.
Because it's going to benefit the citizens of Clear Lake, which is who we all represent.
Who sets up the regional districts within Golden State? Is that something your company does?
Yeah, they set it up as regions.
Okay. PUC has no say in that?
How they're configured, no.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just think I don't think it's a loss for us, so I don't know why we wouldn't just do that, so.
And that's why we're here to deliberate, give direction.
My inclination would be the same based on that, but again, there is other information out there that Mr. Haydard is written down. I noticed you were taking notes.
Yeah, I don't want to miss anything, 'cause there was a lot of stuff lying around.
But if we were pushed to make a decision tonight, I'd be inclined to support it.
Well, maybe we can make a decision tonight anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can't we you still get us information that we've been requesting? So I don't think he'll stop not giving us the information
Correct.
that's been requested. I just think we could move on with this particular
four-way
thing. We
test.
can discuss all the, what we'd like to see them do or whatever not do, so.
There's a comment about a four-way test, something like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there any other member of the public who would like to ask a question on this item? Please step forward. Seeing none, any member in the Zoom room now, Madam Clerk, with a question?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ahart, final comment.
Before I step away, if you guys really would like to get down in the weeds on the functions and where, how things move around and all that stuff, my boss is more than happy to come up and come to a meeting.
Okay.
He just happens to be in Wisconsin tonight, otherwise he'd probably be here tonight. So he rested this on my shoulders, and
No, thank you.
I
And
don't feel like I really did all that well, but
No, you did just fine. I sincerely appreciate your coming tonight. You know, if it seemed a little contentious, I apologize for that. But you know, water is can be a contentious item, because everybody needs it.
understood. And usually it's the cost, so that's why I
Exactly.
thought this was a good news.
No, exactly. All right, I'll bring it back to council for whatever action you might take.
I think we should.
Further deliberation?
I think either we should become part of the proceedings or table this and get some more information. Okay.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a moment to poll the council individually. Madam,
I feel we should move
Councilmember?
forward and join.
thank you. Councilmember Kramer?
I'm inclined to say let's support the joining of the two of Arden, Cordova, and Clearlake, which would, if I understand correctly, will hold our rates at no increase, and if passed, it'll provide $600 and something thousand worth of infrastructure improvement for Clearlake.
Thank you. Mr. Vice?
Council, with your suggestion to become part of the proceeding, what would be your aim?
To find out really how the internal workings is and also address the issues that the Public Advocate's Office has with the rate increases that have occurred in the past, but have projects that have not been completed or started.
Okay.
That's my big concern.
Yeah, you know, I certainly support the move to a consolidated region. I do still feel like we're in a really bad spot here overall with rates, and you know, we're really on the back foot.
I think
You're welcome to sit if you'd like. We're deliberating, so we're not going to take any more questions or answers.
If I look at the
They didn't get this information
That's
because
fine.
they're not
You can hand
customers.
it, you can hand it to the city attorney.
the rates that, you know, we have, like I said, we have two other water districts, and their rates are significantly lower.
Yeah.
So,
You and I guess.
Any further comment by council? Seeing none, do we have an action?
Do we need that? We're just giving direction.
Just giving direction. Seems as though we're in consensus, Mr. Flora, that we would move forward to consolidate.
oh, I'm against that.
Well, yeah.
Consensus.
We got
Okay? I'm against it.
Go ahead.
Guess I'm not quite reading the tea leaves the same here.
That's how I saw it.
all in
Go
favor
ahead.
of, it's easy. How many
So
of us-
I want to be clear with my position, because I think, I don't know if
Go ahead.
you gave your position. So I'm certainly in favor of that particular piece of it, but do we need to have a heavier hand in this process, given all the other issues around this? So yes, that element, I seem to be in support of that. If we did become part of the process, what could we realistically expect to get out of this that would benefit ratepayers? I think that's the question I have, and I don't.
Nothing.
Well,
If I might make a comment on that, I think what the PUC could do is actually make sure that that previous rate hikes are being addressed and finished first before they get this one, before any other increase. This is not just our district, but I assume that it's all over.
Speaking to a representative from PUC, is that something that you will be doing anyway?
I don't know, I can take that question back. And so your question, can you just summarize it one more time so that I can make sure that it's
So
complete?
the advocacy letter states in one of the first pages, it says that, my concern is that Golden State has had previous rate increases based on proposed capital improvements, but those projects have not been started or completed yet. And now they're asking, not particular on our side, on our district, but projects that have so previously been funded, now ask for the same project to be funded again. So I don't know if that makes sense.
So, yeah, it makes sense. So I just want to let you know that the Public Advocate's Office is a separate division from the CPUC. It's a separate entity, and they are also a party to the procedure. Their mission is to really fight for the ratepayer and get the lowest rates possible, of course, without jeopardizing safety or improvements and things like that. But they are also a party to the proceedings. So one of the benefits of becoming a party to the proceeding too is that you would be perhaps able to work with them, support, get access to the evidence that they present and things like that. So I could go more. I know the question, you didn't ask me the question about what's the benefit necessarily of becoming a party to the proceeding, but I do think that that's an important thing for you to know so that you can be fully informed to make this decision. Would you like me to explain the details of what that means?
Please. Okay.
So a party is a person or organization that is formally and directly involved in the decision-making. The formal participation as a party comes with rights and responsibility. So some of the rights include presenting evidence and witnesses to support your position, obtaining information from other parties, and filing relevant motions, petitions, objections, and briefs. And then some of the responsibilities as a party, you must make witnesses available for cross-examination when witnesses have presented testimony, serve documents on all parties, respond to data and information requests from other parties when they request it, and fully disclose on whose behalf the filing is made, and fully disclose the interests of such persons or entities during the proceeding. And then finally, demonstrate that your perspective will be relevant to the proceedings issues. And I can send all of this documentation to you so that you can review it as well. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
One other question is, if we were to become a party to the suit, is there a cost to the city?
Well, I mean, I guess the time associated with someone's gonna have to be filing various things and whatnot, so I mean, yeah, there's gonna be time associated with that.
Associated with our council also, or?
Well, I would expect that someone from his office would be involved in preparing those. I mean, it's not like a court case, but, you know, it's similar, and there's an administrative law judge that oversees the stuff, so. I mean, I don't know where we are for sure, but I mean, perhaps I could recommend that, I mean, I'm not sure that there was a lot of specific questions related to the rate case for Mr. Earhart to come back with. I know I asked about the fire connection thing. If there's other things, maybe we could specify that now to make sure there's clarity. And, you know, perhaps we just bring it back at the next meeting. Maybe Mr. Earhart's boss could be here. We could ask for someone from the Public Advocate's Office to attend the meeting and address maybe more questions. Maybe the information, the concerns of the council could be handled by just coordinating with the Public Advocate's Office. Or maybe the recommendation is that become a party just to get access to that information that in particular Councilmember Slutin has brought up. I mean, I think just becoming a party of the proceeding doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you can't support the consolidation. I mean, you'll recall 3 years ago we talked about this, and I think if we went back and looked at the comment that we did submit to the Public Utilities Commission at the time, that we actually asked them for some consolidation as a way to sort of spread the cost around. So I think, you know, that part of it is a benefit, but we have a lot of water issues in this city, and I think it's something that the council and the rest of the city needs to pay close attention to.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I think that sounds good. But we just postpone it until the next, and we can maybe get some clarity.
So if I could just ask everybody to kind of speak up, I think we're kind of fading off here.
Okay, I'll turn my microphone on because I did not have it on.
Turn your mic on so everybody can hear.
Okay, so I like that idea that we just we continue this on until the next meeting, and maybe we can get some clarifications on some of these questions that the councils have had, different councils have. I like that, and then we can make a decision from that point.
I agree with that. Basically, that's what I said, I think about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need more information.
Do you have consensus on that?
I concur.
I don't want to jump the gun again.
I just want to be specific. Councilmember Kramer has mentioned additional information multiple times. Is there anything other than a cost associated with the fire connection that you would like to have information on?
I don't know if Golden State can provide it, but there are capital improvements projects that have been completed in the last 5 years or so. Okay. And also, if you have updated flow things, that would be helpful for me personally.
I think it'd
Anything
be
else?
helpful for all of us.
Anything
Okay.
else?
That's helpful. I think that's numbers.
So we have the fire connection fee increase, we have
Fire
CIP
flow
investments
rates.
for the last 5 years, and we have fire flow, updated fire flow data.
There were a question about the projects that they had asked for the increase before but hadn't completed.
That came from the letter from the Public Advocate's Office,
So
but
then we would
that
like
could
to
be.
have them-
Well, yeah, if
Yes.
there's any, I mean, so that wasn't necessarily specific to the Clearlake service area.
Right.
That was looking at Golden State's system all together. So we don't know that that was a factor here, or it could have been.
Okay. Do we have direction, Mr. Fleur?
I think so. Mr. Earhart, do you have a good list of information that you're bringing back to us?
Yeah, so we have the fire connection question.
Last 5 years, capital investment in the system, and the question that I asked about the increase in the fire fee part of it.
So it's just that one, and then the capital projects, was there something else?
And the fire flow, just
Fire
the three
flow.
things.
Oh, fire flows. So, again, updated fire flows, we don't do them unless they're requested. So, we have a couple, but we have more hydrants, we have an updated hydrant list.
Okay, well, I think Councilmember Slutin's just, I mean, you're saying the information that he was given is 20 years old. So if you have any additional fire flow, more recent fire flow information, please provide it. If
Is it,
not, we'll
how about this, just if I want to propose something? I have these lists, and I'll be happy to send it to you, and then you can say where I am wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Respectfully speaking, of course.
I mean, as much as I like that, any updated information on fire flow, the rest of us would still.
Would like to know that as well.
I'll bring it to,
We just can have it on the next meeting, right?
Thank you.
yeah, next meeting.
All right, do you have direction now, Mr. Fleur?
yeah, we're good.
Good.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you, Ms. from the California Public Utilities Commission. We appreciate your being here, and maybe you can come back next time we have this on our agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We met her at the League of Cities.
Good. I didn't. Moving on. City Manager's report.
A few things. At the next meeting, we'll probably be talking about another of our water districts. Canoctay County Water District is in the process of pursuing an annexation proposal. This is along the Dam Road area. And so there's some discussion we need to have about allocation of property tax before it goes back to LAFCO. So it's the responsibility of the auditor's office to coordinate that. I've been in contact with them. And I was actually hoping to have it on this agenda, but they weren't quite ready. So expecting to come back on that. There's a time period when we can provide comment on that, which is kind of the end of this month. So we'll need to have it there. But more to come on that. You'll recall a few years ago we had a discussion on a cannabis project just outside the city boundary on Ogulin Canyon Road. There was a letter of support issued by the city for that project pursuant to county ordinance. And there was some subsequent discussions about annexing the property into the city and whatnot. They've decided to reapply to the county for basically the original project. I've requested a letter of support from the city again. I was going to bring that back to council, and then in reviewing materials, I realized that the council adopted a policy related to this type of thing that gave me direction within certain criteria to issue a letter of support if the project met those criteria. And in this particular case, since it's the same as it was before, it does. So I haven't done it yet, but my intention is to issue a letter of support to the project pursuant to the council's adopted policy. There is an additional cannabis project that's within the boundary north of the city that is currently being proposed. Haven't gotten any details on that yet, but when I get more information, we'll be talking about that one as well. We had a discussion about needle exchange here a little while back, and just wanted the council to know that we did issue a letter to the California Department of Public Health related to what we view as a lack of adequate consultation with us related to this and is required by state law. We did get a response from them that they will not allow the needle exchange to operate within the city boundaries until some additional information is provided. So this was a joint letter with the city of Lakeport and the city of Clearlake, and the county sheriff also was part of the correspondence that was sent to the PUC. We're considering bringing an update to our mandatory garbage ordinance forward soon. Wanted the council to know about that. So when that was initially adopted, I believe in 2017, it impacted residential customers only. Talking with code enforcement, there are a small number, but a number of commercial businesses that do not have garbage service that are causing code enforcement problems. So we're looking at bringing some language back to the council to require mandatory garbage service for those commercial businesses as well. Still kind of navigating Cal Recycle's process to bring some recycling and redemption service back to the community. We submitted an application a while back, and it got kicked back, and we're trying to work through that. It's not something that we want to have located at our shopping centers anymore, which technically isn't allowed by zoning anyway, but caused a number of additional problems in those areas. But it sounds like we have a plan with our waste hauler and with the county to establish one of these locations at its one of its historical locations just outside the landfill. And so the city of Lakeport now is also having the same issues. It hasn't quite gotten as far through the Cal Recycles process, but they're trying to identify a site, and then we'll be submitting a joint application for one of the redemption centers that would operate 1 day a week at this point here, and then over in the city of Lakeport as well. The final thing, you may have seen some activity in Austin Park today, is related to an ice skating rink that will be open on October 6th through October 22nd. So we've been trying to make this happen for a few years. I was a little disappointed that ideally this would happen sort of more in the holiday season, but this is the only time we were able to make it work, so we decided to give it a try and see if the community can still enjoy it a little early. So,
Maybe next time.
huh?
Maybe next year.
And so it was a great deal. It's through, I believe, the company that brought us the circus, and they're providing this for the community's enjoyment at no cost to the city. So,
Wow.
with that, that's my report.
Thank you. You had a question?
No, I just, at the Rotary meeting last Tuesday, a representative from the
Waste Solutions.
Waste Solutions suggested that they will have a mobile recycling thing going around and then one permanently, but like on a weekday and a weekend day at the recycling center up by Quackenbush.
Well, that's
that's
mostly correct. I think the confusion there is all of the locations would actually be mobile units. So it would be at the same location. It wouldn't move around the city, but they found that having a mobile unit is much less of an attractive nuisance and causes a lot less problems when they can pack it up at the end of the day and take it all away. And so they've been doing this in Fort Bragg and for, I guess, since May, and they believe it's working quite well. And so this would be a similar type of program. So the state requires that it be open 1 day during the week and 1 day on the weekend. So what we're proposing initially is that it would be open on Sundays here in Clearlake, and at 1 day during the week to be decided by the city of Lakeport at a location that they can settle. And, you know, I don't know how soon Ryan's going to jump in and say this is becoming an agenda item. So, you don't want to have too much discussion about it.
Gotcha.
And again, I think from just an information standpoint, daily fees, fines have been, are on hold, not being charged to our businesses.
I don't know that that's the case. It's the decision of the, any place that.
That was the information given to us on Tuesday by this lady.
Okay. Well, I don't know. They have two
what
options.
it's
They can pay the fee or they can accept the recycling at their location. And I don't have a list of the locations and what their decision was.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kramer, any reports?
I have nothing, well, just other than the Clear Lake Chambers luau is scheduled for October 21st. We still have tickets available. It's going to be at the Cache Creek Winery. We'll have entertainment from both a local band, Beats Workin', and from, help me here, Mayor Purdock, Hawaiian Hula Troupe. We'll be doing a hula thing for about 45 minutes, and then we'll have a great dinner put on by, luau dinner, put on by Lindy's Catering, Lucerne Market. And we'll have a dessert auction and a silent auction with one significant item that we will give the proceeds from, plus a matching, not a matching amount, but an amount from the chamber to the Lahaina fire recovery efforts. That's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Overton. Councilmember Overton.
I don't really have anything to, anything in particular, just that I just want to let people know that the senior center is closed at the community center for renovations, and hopefully that we will be over at the Masonic Lodge starting on Tuesday. So.
That's good information. Thank you for that. Councilmember Slotin.
I attended the LAFCO meeting yesterday. The Canocti Lower Lake annexation or adjustment in boundaries was discussed, and also the motion was passed that the, is it the Lakeshore Fire District or South Lake, whatever the district is here?
Lake County Fire
Lake County
Protection District.
That their board of trustees is going to be from 7 to 5 members.
No, look it down.
Lake County Fire Protection.
Lake County Fire Protection. So I'm not sure why that particular, at least to comply with some new requirements, I guess. And we got a little lecture on what that LAFCO should be doing and what some of the agencies don't seem to comply with.
All right. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor. Just looking forward to a good month of activities here.
Well, I'm disappointed with this group. We attended the California Leagues of City conference, and we had a darn good time. Picked up a couple of nuggets. I want to thank the city clerk for booking us some great accommodations right across from the convention center. Very convenient. Thank you very much for that. Glad to have Mr. Flora there.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, Mr. Flora, you're welcome. Mr. Clerk, we appreciate that. I think there was some good information shared to all of us that attended. It was great to see the vendors there and see what wares they had to sell and try to save the city some money. And like I said, I came back with a few nuggets, some good information that hopefully we can use to benefit the city in making it a better place to live and visit. We had an AVA meeting yesterday, which falls kind of on the heels of the LAFCO meeting. We reported on the vehicles that have been towed by our code enforcement city police department. Always good to know and see that those things are happening. Sadly, we also were required biannually to conduct an audit of the AVA programs, and that was, the cost of that was increased, I believe it was 500 and something %. It was over $10,000 to have that audit done, which is, as far as I'm concerned, almost criminal. But because it's a very small audit and people aren't wanting to do that, CPAs see that as more of a burden than anything else, they raise the price. So we are actively looking for an entity, or maybe we could partner with a contiguous county that may be able, we can pull our resources, because it is required to be independent of those participants within the AVA structure. So it would need to be not the County of Lake, City of Lakeport, or City of Clearlake. Anyway, that's my report on that.
One addition to your.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Jeez.
One addition to your report on our California League of Cities, maybe I didn't hear it, but we had a great dinner that was put on for us by our legal counsel's firm, which enabled us to network with many of the other cities that do business with your firm, and I got a few nuggets out of that, which we'll talk about later.
All right. Seeing no other do-overs, future agenda items. Anybody have anything they would like to suggest? All right, Mr. Flora, are you sitting down? Yes, you are. I would really like to see us revisit the landlord rental ordinance in trying to keep our rental properties hopefully in a better living condition than some I've seen recently. And I was able to speak, unfortunately the chief wasn't available, but I met with one of his lieutenants, and we talked about possibilities and structure and that type of thing. If it's at all possible, could we hopefully see that within the next meeting or two on our agenda, and we could provide updates?
Yeah, as soon as you talk to me about it, we will.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I blindsided you with that tonight, but it is something that I think could really help us to beautify our city. Thank you.
It's been on my bucket list since the day I joined the council.
All right, well, good. I got one supporter then. Anybody else? Do we have consensus for that, or am I just a lone wolf?
I'd be happy to talk about it.
All right, thank you very much. Any other future agenda items?
I want to direct the mayor to talk to him, and then you can put it on the agenda when it.
Yeah, I know. But I did talk to him, but it was.
Let's not put a specific time frame on it. He might have other things.
I want it before I get off count, before I lose my mayoral ship.
So you got 1 or 3 more meetings.
Got to cut 3 more meetings. Anyway, thanks, Mr. Floor. I did talk to him about this prior. I didn't warn him about this one, though. Okay, seeing no other things, we'll adjourn for 5 minutes, and then we'll reconvene in closed session. Thank you very much.